The owner of a clothing store hired a disabled man just to make fun of him. Months later, she decided to check the store's security camera and could not believe what the man was capable of doing. The morning was radiant when Levi arrived at the clothing store. Eternal elegance. His heart was pounding with anticipation as he approached the entrance, a genuine smile lighting up his face. Levi's eyes sparkled with a mix of hope and enthusiasm as he gazed at the elegant shop windows. Adjusting his simple yet carefully pressed shirt, he entered the store with his wheelchair, the bell's chime announcing his arrival. The store's interior was a spectacle of colors and textures, and Levi could not contain his admiration. What an amazing place! I can't wait to be a part of this and help people feel special with such beautiful clothes. I really need this job, he thought, looking around in awe. Delilah emerged from behind a display, her high heels echoing on the marble floor. She was an imposing woman, with black hair tied in a severe bun and lips painted a deep red. Her cold eyes scanned Levi, his simple clothes with an expression of superiority that she barely tried to hide. In his innocence, Levi interpreted her expression as curiosity. "Good morning, madam. I am Levi. I came for the interview. This place is simply wonderful," he exclaimed, extending his hand with enthusiasm. Delilah hesitated for a moment before shaking his hand, checking if his hands were clean, then giving a forced smile, refusing Levi's gentle handshake. "Ah, yes, the candidate. Levi, follow me to my office." On the way to the office, Levi could not help but admire the clothes on display, commenting excitedly on the fabrics and colors. "Wow, that blue dress is stunning. It must make anyone feel like a princess," he said, his eyes shining with admiration. Delilah only nodded, her face a mask of indifference. When they arrived at the office, Levi sat across from Delilah's desk, his gaze wandering around the room in fascination. "What an elegant office, Madam Delilah. It fits perfectly with the store." The interview was a series of challenging questions, each one seemingly designed to shake Levi's confidence. But with every question, he responded with unwavering sincerity and optimism. When asked about his sales experience, Levi smiled broadly. "You know, Madam Delilah, I believe selling is about connecting with people, understanding their dreams and helping them feel confident. Every customer is unique and special, and I can't wait to learn from each one of them," he replied, his eyes glowing with an almost tangible faith in the goodness of people. At the end of the interview, Delilah leaned back in her chair, an enigmatic smile playing on her lips. The silence lingered, but Levi remained calm, his gaze peaceful and confident. Finally, Delilah spoke, her voice soft, but with a tone Levi could not quite understand. "Well, Levi, I must say your perspective is interesting. The job is yours. You can start tomorrow," she said, though there was a malicious smile that Levi did not notice, as his face lit up like a child on Christmas morning for getting the job. "Oh, thank you so much, Madam Delilah. You will not regret it, I promise. I will do my best to make every customer feel special," he exclaimed, extending his hand for an enthusiastic handshake. As Levi made his way to the exit, overflowing with happiness and gratitude, Delilah watched him with a calculating look. As soon as the door closed, she turned to her assistant, who had been quietly observing everything from the corner of the room. Delilah's smile was now cold and cruel. Approaching the assistant, her eyes gleamed with a malice that made the young woman shudder. "Did you see his clothes? How does he think he can fit in at a store like this? Let us see how long he lasts. Prepare the contract, but make sure it is flexible. I have big plans for our new employee. I will show him that people like him do not belong in this refined environment," Delilah whispered, her voice dripping with cruelty, which sharply contrasted with Levi's purity and innocence. The sun had barely risen when Levi arrived at the store for his first day of work. His face radiated pure joy, his eyes shining with expectation. As he entered the store, he was greeted by Delilah's cold stare, who was waiting for him with a smile that did not reach her eyes. "Good morning, Madam Delilah. What a beautiful day to make people happy with beautiful clothes, isn't it?" Levi greeted, his voice overflowing with sincerity. Delilah looked him up and down, her gaze lingering on Levi's simple and worn clothes. "Good morning. Let us head to the stockroom." "There is much work to be done," she replied curtly, turning and walking toward the back of the store. The stockroom was a maze of high shelves, filled with boxes and hangers. Delilah stopped in front of a particularly tall stack of boxes. "Your task is to organize all these boxes on the highest shelves. These are expensive clothes, Levi. Try not to ruin them with your hands," she instructed, her tone dripping with disdain. Levi, unaware of the cruelty in Delilah's words, smiled broadly. "What an honor, Madam Delilah. I promise to take care of each piece like it is a treasure," he exclaimed, his eyes shining with excitement. Delilah rolled her eyes, irritated by Levi's innocent enthusiasm. With considerable effort, Levi began the task. Each movement was a challenge, but he faced it with a smile on his face, quietly humming as he worked. "What a beautiful dress. It must make the person feel like a princess," he commented, admiring one of the pieces. Delilah, watching from a distance, let out a dry laugh. "Someone like you could never understand the value of these clothes, Levi. Focus on the work," she retorted, her voice full of contempt. Levi, in his kind innocence, did not catch the malice in Delilah's words. "You are right. Each piece is very special. I will do my best to take good care of them," he responded, continuing his task with renewed enthusiasm. The hours dragged on and the challenge became more and more difficult. Levi, sweating and visibly tired, continued his arduous task, always with a smile on his face. Delilah, noticing his exhaustion, approached with a cruel smile. "Oh, Levi, you are taking too long. Maybe your old clothes are getting in the way of your movements. Too bad you cannot dress properly to work here," she teased. Levi, in his innocence, did not catch the malice in her comment. "You are even worried about my clothes? How kind. Do not worry, they are comfortable for the work. What matters is what is inside us, right?" He replied with genuine gratitude, continuing his task with the same enthusiasm as before. Finally, Levi reached the last and heaviest box. With great effort, he lifted it onto his lap, his wheelchair positioned close to the lowest shelf he could reach. Levi stretched as much as he could, trying to place the box on the shelf. His arms trembled with the effort, and for a terrible moment the box wobbled dangerously in his outstretched hands. Delilah, watching closely, let out a small gasp and a low laugh. In that critical moment, with the box swaying precariously above him, Levi did not think of himself. His only thought was, "Oh no, I hope I do not damage any of the clothes. It would be a shame to disappoint Madame Delilah." With one final effort, he managed to push the box onto the shelf, almost tipping out of his wheelchair in the process. Exhausted but relieved that nothing was damaged, Levi settled back in his chair. His face, despite the obvious fatigue, still wore a gentle smile. "Madame Delilah, I did my best with the boxes. I hope I was able to help. Is there anything else I can do?" he asked, his voice full of tireless kindness, a stark contrast to the hostile environment around him. Delilah looked at Levi with a cold smile, her calculating gaze assessing the exhausted employee before her. "Well, since you are finished in the stockroom, let us see how you handle the sales floor. Follow me," she ordered, spinning on her heels and heading toward the front of the store. Levi, still breathless from his previous effort, followed her in his wheelchair, his face lighting up at the prospect of interacting with customers. When they arrived at the sales floor, Delilah stopped abruptly, turning to Levi. "Remember, Levi, our customers expect the best. Do not disappoint them," she said, her tone loaded with a veiled warning. Levi, in his innocence, smiled broadly. "I will do my best, Madame Delilah. I cannot wait to help the customers," he responded, his enthusiasm unshakable. The store soon filled with customers, and Levi moved among them, always with a warm smile on his face. He approached each person with genuine joy, offering suggestions and sincere compliments. "This dress would beautifully highlight your eyes," he said to one customer. "How about this suit? You would look like a true successful businessman," he suggested to another. His captivating approach began to catch the attention of the customers, who seemed to respond positively to his sincerity and enthusiasm. Delilah watched from a distance, her face a mask of growing disapproval. "How dare he succeed? I need to show these customers that he does not belong here," she thought, her eyes narrowing. Taking advantage of a moment when Levi was busy with a group of customers, Delilah approached with a malicious smile. She waited until Levi was in the middle of an enthusiastic suggestion about an outfit to intervene. "Excuse me," she said loudly, making everyone turn around. "Levi, dear, do you really think anyone would buy that thing you are suggesting? It is as outdated as your own clothes," Delilah said, causing Levi's smile to falter, though he tried to recover. "Oh, I am sorry. I really thought that—" He began to speak, but Delilah cut him off abruptly. "You are not here to think, Levi. You are here to do what you are told, if you can even understand that," she replied before turning to the customers, her tone changing to falsely sweet. "Forgive our new employee. He is a bit special. We hired him out of charity, you know. Let me show you the truly appropriate pieces." Levi's humiliation grew as the day went on. Each interaction became an opportunity for Delilah to expose his inadequacies. "Levi, do you really think you can suggest something to this customer? Look at you and look at her. In what world are you living?" she said, provoking uncomfortable laughter from the customers. Or, "Oh, Levi, maybe it is better if you stay quietly in a corner. Your presence is bothering our real customers." With every cruel comment, Levi felt his heart breaking, but he kept a trembling smile. "I am sorry, Madam Delilah. I just wanted to help," he replied, his voice barely a whisper. Inside, he struggled to understand. Why is Madam Delilah being so harsh? Did I do something wrong? Maybe if I show her that I am a good person and only want to help, maybe she will be less rude, he thought, his innocence preventing him from seeing the pure malice in Delilah's actions. The climax of the situation came when an elderly customer entered the store, looking a bit lost. Levi, gathering courage, approached her with a kind smile. "Good afternoon, madam. May I help you find something special today?" he asked warmly. The lady smiled back, clearly touched by Levi's gentle approach. Before she could respond, Delilah intervened, her voice dripping with venom. "Levi, what do you think you are doing? Do you really think you can assist someone in your pitiful state?" She turned to the elderly lady, her tone shifting to false concern. "I am terribly sorry, madam. I do not know how he escaped supervision. You know how these poor people are. They never know their place," she replied. Silence fell over the store, customers exchanging looks of shock. Levi, feeling the crushing weight of Delilah's words, lowered his head, silent tears streaming down his face. But before he could step away, the elderly customer stepped forward, her face red with indignation. "How dare you? This young man was the only one who treated me with real humanity since I entered here. Your behavior is disgraceful. If this is how you treat people, I will never set foot in this store again, and I will make sure to tell everyone I know about your cruelty," she thundered, her voice trembling with anger. And with that she turned to leave, not without first placing a gentle hand on Levi's shoulder. The murmur spread throughout the store, with other customers whispering in agreement and beginning to leave. Delilah was frozen, her face a mask of shock and fury, while Levi looked around, a mix of confusion, pain, and gratitude in his tear-filled eyes. After the commotion on the sales floor, Delilah, her face twisted with anger, grabbed Levi's arm tightly. "You, to the stockroom, now!" she hissed, dragging him away from the remaining customers' gazes. Levi, still stunned by the recent events, let her push his wheelchair without resistance. When they reached the stockroom, Delilah shoved him inside, making his wheelchair spin. "Organize all of this, and do not you dare leave until it is perfect," she ordered, slamming the door as she left. Levi looked around, seeing piles and piles of disorganized clothes. Taking a deep breath, he muttered to himself, "Come on, Levi. Every piece organized is another job done. Madam Delilah just needs to see that you can work well, and everything will be okay." With determination, Levi began the task of organizing the chaos around him. His hands trembled slightly as he folded shirts and hung up dresses, the physical effort evident by the sweat beginning to form on his forehead. With every piece he organized, he strained to reach the highest racks, stretching as far as he could in his wheelchair. Sometimes a piece would fall, and he had to carefully maneuver to pick it up from the floor, a slow and painful process. As he worked, he heard muffled voices and laughter coming from the other side of the door. "Did you see his face when Delilah humiliated him?" said a voice, followed by more laughter. Levi closed his eyes for a moment, feeling a pang of pain. They just do not know me yet. Once they see how good of a person I am sure we will be friends, he thought, trying to stay optimistic. The hours dragged on, and Levi kept working. His back ached from constantly stretching, and his arms felt heavy with exhaustion. Even so, he did not stop, determined to keep working, as this job would be his livelihood. In a particularly difficult moment, when he was trying to reach a high shelf, Levi heard the door open. For a brief moment, he hoped it was someone offering help. But all he heard was more muffled laughter, and the sound of the door quickly closing again. Look at him twisting all over. Pathetic, someone whispered, provoking more cruel laughter. Levi felt the tears burn his eyes, but he quickly brushed them away. Why do people have to be so cruel? Why do they not try to be kind to me, the way I am to them? No, I cannot think like that. People give what they have in their hearts, he murmured to himself, forcing a trembling smile. As the night wore on, Levi looked at the clock, realizing it was well past the store's closing time. Even so, he continued working, determined to finish the task. In a moment of distraction, Levi did not notice an unstable pile of boxes next to him. As he moved, his wheelchair bumped into them, causing them to collapse on top of him. Levi let out a muffled cry, more from surprise than pain, as he struggled to free himself from the avalanche of clothes and boxes. Did anyone hear that? Must be that incompetent Levi knocking everything over again. Just leave it, came a voice from the hallway, followed by more cruel laughter. Levi, still buried under the clothes, felt a wave of despair. Why are they being so mean to me? I just want to be part of the team, he thought, fighting back the tears. Finally, after what felt like hours, Levi emerged from the pile of clothes. Exhausted and disheartened, he began picking up the fallen pieces, folding them mechanically. That was when he noticed something strange stuck to his wheelchair. Curious, he pulled off a piece of paper that certainly had not been there before. With trembling hands, Levi looked at the note, his heart racing with anticipation. As his eyes scanned the words written on it, his face turned pale. The note said in large, cruel letters, "Why do you not just give up? Nobody wants you here. Have you not realized that yet?" Levi let the paper fall from his trembling hands, a sob escaping his lips. For the first time since he arrived at the store, his unwavering faith in the goodness of people faltered. Could they be right? Do I really not belong here? My clothes are not expensive like theirs, but they are what I can afford. I may not have much money, but I am a human being, he whispered to himself, the tears finally falling freely. With trembling hands and a heavy heart, Levi maneuvered his wheelchair out of the stockroom, the cruel note crumpled in his fist. He moved through the empty aisles of the store, the lights now dimmed, creating shadows that seemed to dance around him, mocking his pain. Reaching the employee bathroom, Levi entered, closing the door behind him with a soft click. The small space felt suffocating, the cold white walls reflecting his state of mind. Positioning himself in front of the mirror, Levi finally allowed the tears to flow freely. Why are they doing this to me? I just wanted a chance. I just wanted to belong somewhere, he whispered to his reflection, his voice choked with emotion. With hesitant fingers, Levi unfolded the note again, the cruel words jumping off the page like daggers to his heart. Each letter seemed to scream at him, echoing the mocking laughter and whispers he had heard all day. The tears blurred his vision, but he could not look away from the words that hurt him so deeply. Maybe they are right. Who am I fooling? Look at me. How can I work in such an elegant place? Levi murmured, doubt eating away at his usual confidence. His reflection in the mirror seemed to silently agree, showing a man broken and defeated. As Levi continued to stare at the note, memories of the day flashed through his mind like a cruel movie. Delilah's disdainful look, the muffled laughter of his colleagues, the pitying expressions of the customers, all blended into a tapestry of rejection and humiliation. He closed his eyes tightly, trying to push away the painful images. Mother always said I could do anything, that my heart was my greatest strength and that I needed to stay kind. But what if she was wrong? What if I am truly not enough for this world? Levi whispered to himself, his voice trembling. The silence of the bathroom was broken only by Levi's muffled sobs. He held the note against his chest, as if embracing his own pain. His tears fell onto the paper, smudging the cruel letters, but not lessening their impact. Levi looked again at the mirror, seeing not only his reflection, but every time he had been ridiculed for his simplicity, every time people saw his kindness and tried to take advantage of it. I always believed that kindness would win, that if I were kind and hardworking, people would accept me. But maybe the world is really too cruel for someone like me, he said softly, his voice taking on a tone of bitterness he had never felt before. No, I cannot think like this. My kindness is part of who I am. I should not change that because of people who try to ridicule me. Suddenly, a loud knock on the bathroom door broke the silence, making Levi jump in his wheelchair. "Hey, is someone in there? Open up already!" shouted an impatient voice from the other side. The knocking continued, growing more insistent, echoing in the small space like thunder. Levi looked in panic at the door, then at the note in his hands and back at his tearful reflection in the mirror. His heart raced, his mind running in 1,000 directions. What do I do now? I can't let them see me like this. But I can't stay here forever either, he thought desperately. The knocking on the door became louder with each passing second, as if it aimed to break down not only the physical barrier, but also the last of Levi's emotional defenses. With his heart pounding and hands trembling, Levi finally opened the bathroom door. To his surprise, he found a young saleswoman with a kind expression. "Hi, I'm Mariah. We haven't been introduced yet," she introduced herself with a warm smile. "I saw what happened today. I noticed most of the staff were cruel when all you did was show them kindness. Don't let them humiliate you, Levi. Your kindness is your strength. Everything will be okay." Mariah's words, full of sincerity, touched Levi deeply. He felt a spark of hope reignite in his chest. "Thank you, Mariah." "You don't know how much that means to me," Levi replied, his voice choked with emotion. Mariah nodded understandingly, and with one last encouraging smile she walked away, leaving Levi immersed in thoughts of kindness amid cruelty. The journey home felt endless for Levi. The city streets, usually so full of life and color, seemed dull and distant. Every movement of his wheelchair was a reminder of the exhausting day he had endured. When he finally reached his modest apartment, Levi was greeted by the sound of a faint cough coming from his mother's room. "Mother, are you okay? I just got home from my new job. Were you all right during my shift?" he called, the concern evident in his voice. Entering the room, he found his mother lying down, paler than usual. "Oh dear, how was your first day?" she asked with a weak smile. Levi hesitated, the weight of the day threatening to overwhelm him once again. "It was different from what I expected, but I'm happy to have a job, a chance to pay the bills, and finally buy your medicine. The most important thing is that when I get my first paycheck, I'll be able to pay for good doctors for you," he replied, forcing a smile. Their conversation was interrupted by another coughing fit from his mother, stronger this time. Levi immediately moved to grab the glass of water on the bedside table, offering it to her. "Mother, you need to see a doctor. This cough is getting worse," he said, the worry clear in his voice. His mother gently shook her head. "Don't worry, son. It will pass," she replied, but Levi could see the pain in her eyes. He knew they needed a good specialist, but he also knew they couldn't afford such care. The weight of responsibility pressed down on his already tired shoulders. "How can I take care of her? I need this job more than ever now," Levi thought, the desperation growing in his chest. While Levi was preparing tea for his mother in the small kitchen, his mind wandered between concerns about work and her health. The apartment, though clean and tidy, showed clear signs of financial hardship. Worn furniture, peeling walls, an almost empty refrigerator. Levi looked down at his own clothes, remembering the cruel comments made at the store. If only they knew. If only they understood, he murmured to himself, feeling the weight of his situation. He returned to his mother's room, offering her the tea with a forced smile. "Here you go, Mother. This will help you feel better," he said, trying to sound optimistic. Suddenly, the silence of the apartment was broken by the shrill ringing of the phone. Levi looked at it with apprehension, a feeling of dread growing in his stomach. Hesitantly, he answered. "Hello," he said, his voice trembling slightly. "Levi." Delilah's sharp voice came from the other end of the line. "I need you to come back to the store immediately. We have an emergency, and you will handle it." Delilah's tone left no room for discussion. Levi looked at his mother, who was watching him with concern. He covered the phone and whispered, "It's work, Mother. They need me." She nodded sadly, and Levi felt his heart break. "I will be there in 20 minutes, Madam Delilah," he replied, hanging up. As he prepared to leave again, Levi couldn't help but think, what else can go wrong today? Night had already fallen when Levi arrived at the store, exhausted and apprehensive. The store's bright lights contrasted with the darkness of the street, creating an almost surreal atmosphere. Upon entering, he was immediately confronted by Delilah, who stood waiting with a stern look and crossed arms. Levi looked around, shocked to see the store in complete disarray. Clothes scattered, hangers on the floor, stains on the floor he was certain he had cleaned just hours earlier. "Finally, you're here. It seems that besides being incompetent during the day, you also cannot manage basic responsibilities," Delilah said, her tone dripping with disdain. Levi, confused and tired, tried to defend himself. "But Madam Delilah, I left everything clean and organized before I left." She cut him off sharply. "Silence. Look around you. The store is a mess, and this is your fault. As punishment, you will clean it all, alone." Levi felt a knot in his stomach, realizing that Delilah must have purposely messed everything up, but he didn't dare confront her. "Yes, madam, I will do what you ask, just as you're telling me," he replied, resigned, knowing a long night awaited him. Delilah led Levi through the store, pointing out every tiny detail she considered out of place. Supposedly misaligned shelves, crooked hangers, even dust particles that only she seemed to see. With every step, Levi felt the weight of the injustice, but he remained silent, determined not to give Delilah the satisfaction of seeing him break. "I want to see my reflection on the floor when you are done. The store needs to be spotless when the customers arrive tomorrow morning, so do your job properly if you are capable," she ordered, pushing a mop towards Levi. He took it, his hands trembling slightly. "I will do my best, madam," he responded softly, swallowing the lump in his throat. Delilah laughed, a cold, humorless sound. "Your best clearly is not good enough, but let's see what you can manage." The hours dragged on as Levi worked tirelessly. He scrubbed the floor, organized the shelves, adjusted the hangers, all under Delilah's relentless gaze. The effort was evident in his every move, with his wheelchair making some tasks more difficult, but Levi refused to show any weakness. Occasionally he cast discreet glances at Delilah, who sat comfortably in a chair watching him with a satisfied smile. "Why is she doing this to me? Can't she see how kind I am being to her?" Levi thought, his heart heavy. Exhaustion began to set in, but he continued, driven by the desperate need to keep this job. As the night wore on, Levi's exhaustion became more and more evident. His calloused hands trembled as they gripped the mop, and drops of sweat trickled down his face. Delilah, on the other hand, seemed to be enjoying the spectacle. "Oh, Levi, you look tired. Maybe this job is too much for you," she said with false sweetness. Levi raised his eyes, meeting Delilah's cruel gaze. For a moment, he felt a spark of anger, quickly replaced by determination. "I am tired, Madam Delilah, but I will do my job. I will finish the work no matter how long it takes," he responded, his voice steady despite his fatigue. Delilah raised an eyebrow, surprised by Levi's persistence. "We will see," she murmured, a hint of irritation in her voice. When Levi finally reached the last corner of the store, his arms ached, and his vision was blurred from exhaustion. He maneuvered his wheelchair to reach a narrow space between two shelves, determined not to let any detail go unnoticed. That was when something caught his attention, a small, shiny object partially hidden under a shelf. Curious, Levi leaned over, stretching his arm to reach it. His fingers brushed the object, and he felt its cold, metallic texture. Carefully, he picked it up and brought it closer. His eyes widened as he realized what it was, a valuable diamond brooch, likely lost by a customer. Without hesitation, Levi held the brooch firmly and maneuvered his wheelchair towards Delilah's office. His heart pounded, not from the temptation to keep the valuable object, but from the anxiety of facing his boss once again. When he reached the office door, he took a deep breath, gathering his courage. "Madam Delilah?" he called softly, knocking on the door. He heard an irritated sigh from the other side, followed by a sharp, "Come in!" Levi opened the door, the brooch secure in his hand. "I found something I think you should see," he said, advancing in his chair. Delilah looked up from her desk, her cold gaze meeting Levi's. "What is it now?" "Do not tell me you cannot even clean the store properly," she mocked. Levi extended his hand, revealing the sparkling brooch. "I found this lost under a shelf, madam. It looks very valuable, and I thought I should hand it over immediately," he explained. Delilah's eyes widened for a moment, a mixture of surprise and something else, perhaps admiration, crossed her face before being quickly replaced by her usual expression of disdain. She took the brooch, examining it carefully. The silence hung in the office for a few tense moments. Levi waited, uncomfortable, as Delilah continued to inspect the brooch. Finally she spoke, her voice laced with suspicion. "How can I be sure you were not planning to keep this for yourself? Maybe you are only giving it to me because you were afraid of being caught." Levi felt as if he had been punched in the stomach. The accusation caught him completely off guard. No, Madam Delilah, I would never do something like that. Honesty is very important to me," he stammered, shocked by the insinuation. Delilah laughed coldly. "Honesty? In this world? Do not be naive, Levi. Everyone has a price." The tension in the air was palpable as Delilah rose from her chair, circling the desk to stand in front of Levi. Her eyes pierced into his, as if trying to see through to his soul. "You know, Levi, you just do not understand your place, do you? I think it is clear that you do not fit in this refined store, especially when you are taking valuable items from our customers," she began, her voice dangerously soft. Levi felt a shiver run down his spine. There was something in Delilah's tone that made him deeply uncomfortable. "I would never steal from anyone, madam. I'm just trying to do my job as best as I can," he replied quietly. Delilah smiled, but there was no warmth in her smile. "Oh yes, your best. Unfortunately, your best is not good enough for this store." With a swift motion, Delilah turned to the computer and started reviewing the store's camera footage. She watched the exact moment Levi found the brooch and was shocked to see his honesty in handing over the item immediately. Frustrated that she had no grounds to blame him, Delilah grabbed a folder from her desk and tossed it into Levi's lap. "Your termination papers," she announced coldly. "You are dismissed, Levi. Your presence here was a mistake from the beginning." Levi felt as if the ground had disappeared beneath his wheelchair. He looked at the folder, then back at Delilah, disbelief written across his face. But I did everything you asked. I treated every customer kindly. Many of them praised my work. I was honest," he stammered, his voice trembling. Delilah laughed, a cruel sound that echoed through the office. "Oh, Levi, your naivety is almost touching. Did you really think someone like you could fit into a place like this? Look at you, your cheap clothes, your wheelchair. You never belonged in this world." She leaned in, her face just inches from Levi's. "Do yourself a favor. Go back to your simple little world and leave the fashion world to those who truly deserve it." Delilah's words cut Levi like knives, each syllable further destroying his already fragile self-esteem. He found himself paralyzed, unable to respond, as the harsh reality of his situation hit him with full force. The day dawned at eternal elegance like any other, with Delilah commanding the store in her usual arrogant manner. She walked between the aisles, adjusting the shelves and casting critical glances at the employees, as if daring someone to make a mistake. The phone rang, and Delilah answered it impatiently. "Eternal elegance, Delilah speaking," she said, her tone clearly indicating the interruption was not welcome. But within seconds, her expression changed dramatically. The color drained from her face, and she gripped the edge of the counter for support. "What? My daughter? An accident?" Her voice trembled, all the arrogance instantly evaporating. Without saying another word, she dropped the phone and ran out of the store, leaving employees and customers stunned behind her. "Oh my God, please let her be okay," Delilah murmured to herself as she rushed to her car, fear gripping every fiber of her being. Meanwhile, In a modest neighborhood of the city, Levi was helping his mother into a taxi. His hands trembled slightly as he counted the few bills he had saved for emergencies. "It's going to be okay, Mother. We'll get the medicine you need. This is my last bit of money, but I have faith I'll find another job soon," he said, forcing a confident smile. His mother coughed weakly, squeezing Levi's hand. "Son, are you sure? And what about your job?" she asked, her rough voice filled with concern. Levi felt a tightness in his chest as he remembered the humiliation of the previous day, but he pushed the thought away. "Don't worry about that now, Mother. Your health is more important," he replied, his voice filled with determination. Minutes later, when they arrived at the hospital, Levi maneuvered his wheelchair through the busy hallways, guiding his mother to the reception area. The smell of antiseptic and the constant hum of voices and medical equipment created a tense atmosphere. It didn't take long for the doctors to see Levi's mother. "She just needs medication to get better, Mr. Levi, but she's out of danger. Take this prescription to the pharmacy and she will recover soon," the doctor said, reassuring him. Though worried about the cost of the medication, Levi nodded. "I'll use my last bit of money to buy the medicine, and then I'll find a new job. At least my mother will be out of danger," he thought, before guiding his mother toward the hospital exit. However, as they passed through one of the hallways, Levi noticed a familiar figure huddled in a corner. His heart skipped a beat as he recognized Delilah. But something was wrong. The woman, always so proud and impeccable, was now hunched over, sobbing uncontrollably. Levi hesitated for a moment, the memory of her cruel words still fresh in his mind. "Mother, can you wait for just a minute? I think someone needs help," he said softly. His mother nodded, a look of understanding in her tired eyes. Carefully, Levi approached Delilah. "Madam Delilah?" he called gently. She looked up, her face a mask of pain and fear. For a moment, a flicker of recognition and then shame passed through her eyes, but it was quickly replaced by anguish. "Levi, what are you doing here?" she whispered, her voice broken. Levi took a deep breath, pushing aside any resentment. "I brought my mother for an appointment, but what happened? Is there anything I can do to help?" he asked, genuinely concerned. Delilah sobbed, her words coming out between gasps. "My daughter. Accident. She's in critical condition." In that moment, all the hostility between them seemed to vanish, replaced by a silent understanding of life's fragility. Suddenly, commotion erupted in the hallway. Doctors and nurses rushed towards a nearby room, their urgent voices echoing through the walls. Delilah jumped to her feet, panic clear on her face. "That's my daughter's room!" she exclaimed, running after the medical team. Levi, moved by an impulse of compassion, followed her as quickly as his wheelchair would allow. When they reached the room's door, they were met with a chaotic scene. Machines were beeping frantically, and the doctors were working intensely over the small, fragile figure in the bed. Delilah, frozen in horror, clung to the doorframe. "My daughter!" she cried, the desperation in her voice cutting through Levi's heart. He watched the scene, feeling powerless, but determined to offer some comfort. "Stay strong, Madam Delilah. They're doing everything they can." "Have faith," Levi said softly, placing a hesitant hand on her arm. In that critical moment, the barriers between them seemed to crumble, and Delilah found herself clutching Levi's hand, seeking support from the man she had despised and humiliated just a day before. The chaos in the hospital corridor was momentarily interrupted by the shrill ringing of Delilah's cell phone. With trembling hands, she answered, her eyes still fixed on the door to her daughter's room. "Delilah, it's Mariah. I heard you answered the call about your daughter. Which hospital are you at?" Mariah's worried voice came from the other side of the line. Delilah, still in shock, barely managed to mumble the hospital's name before hanging up. "Mariah is on her way," she murmured to Levi, her voice thick with emotion. Levi nodded, offering a comforting smile. "That's good, Madam Delilah. It's important to have support at times like this," he replied softly. At that moment, the doctor in charge stepped out of the room, his expression serious. "Madam Delilah, we need to talk," he said, guiding her to a quieter corner of the hallway. Levi followed, keeping a respectful distance. "Your daughter needs an urgent blood transfusion," the doctor explained, his voice low and serious. Unfortunately, we have a shortage in our supply due to an emergency surgery, and her blood type is rare. Delilah felt her legs give way, and Levi quickly positioned his wheelchair so she could lean on it. "What can we do, doctor?" Delilah asked, the desperation evident in her voice. Levi, overhearing the conversation, felt a sudden inspiration. "What is her blood type?" he asked, his voice steady despite the tension of the moment. The doctor looked at him, surprised by the interruption, but answered, "AB negative." Levi's eyes widened. "That's my blood type," he said, a mix of surprise and determination in his voice. Turning to Delilah and the doctor, he continued, "I can donate. I'm willing to do it right now." Delilah's face changed, a mix of shock, disbelief, and a glimmer of hope. "Levi, you would do that? After everything I did?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. Levi smiled gently. "Of course, Madam Delilah. A life is at stake. There's nothing to think about." Delilah, recovering from the shock, nodded quickly. "If you're truly willing, we need to begin immediately. Please follow me." As Levi was taken for the preliminary tests and blood donation, Delilah remained in the hallway, a storm of emotions crossing her face. Mariah arrived shortly after, breathless and worried. "Delilah, how is she?" she asked, hugging her boss. Delilah, still dazed, explained the situation. "My daughter, Levi, that employee I fired yesterday, he's donating blood for my daughter," she finished, tears streaming down her face. Mariah stood open-mouthed. "Levi? My God, Delilah. That's incredible. I always thought he was a good person, but this act speaks volumes about who he is." Time seemed to drag on as they waited. Delilah alternated between pacing back and forth and sitting down, her mind a whirlwind of thoughts and regrets. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the doctor returned. "The transfusion was a success," he announced, a tired smile on his face. "Your daughter is responding well. She's out of danger." Delilah let out a sob of relief, her legs giving way. Mariah supported her, tears of joy in her eyes. Moments later, Levi returned to the hallway looking pale but with a serene smile on his face. Upon seeing him, something inside Delilah broke. All the arrogance, all the pride she had built over the years, crumbled in an instant. She stood up and, to the surprise of everyone, including herself, fell to her knees before Levi's wheelchair. Tears flowed freely down her face as she began to speak, her voice choked with emotion. "Levi, I don't even know where to start. How can I ask for forgiveness for something as horrible as what I did to you? I was cruel, inhumane, a monster. I treated you as if you were less than nothing, when in truth you are more, much more, than I will ever be. I spent my entire life building walls around me, judging people by their appearance, by their status, by the clothes they wear. And look at me now, on my knees, begging for the forgiveness of someone I deemed unworthy to work in my store. You came to eternal elegance with a smile on your face and kindness in your heart, and I only saw your simple appearance. I only saw what my prejudiced eyes wanted to see. I didn't see your strength, your determination, your humanity. I mocked your kindness, ridiculed your goodness, because deep down I envied those qualities that I lost a long time ago. When you found that brooch and returned it, I doubted your honesty and checked the camera footage, because I couldn't conceive that someone could genuinely be good. And now you have saved my daughter's life. You, the person I humiliated and despised, reached out and gave your own blood to save someone you don't even know. Levi, today you showed me the true meaning of elegance. It's not about expensive clothes or appearances. It's about inner beauty, the nobility of spirit. You are the most elegant person I have ever met, and I was too foolish and blind to see it. I don't deserve your forgiveness. I don't even deserve to be in your presence. But I'm here begging, not just for myself, but for my daughter, because I want her to grow up in a world where people like you are valued and respected. I want her to know that her savior wasn't just an anonymous donor, but a man of extraordinary character, who overcame not only his own struggles, but also the cruelty of those around him. If you can find it in your heart to forgive me, I promise I will do everything in my power to become a better person. To be more like you, Levi. To see people for who they truly are, not for what they seem to be. To treat every person with the dignity and respect they deserve. I will understand if you cannot forgive me. What I did is unforgivable, but know that, from today, you have changed my life forever. You didn't just save my daughter. You also saved something in me that I thought had died a long time ago, my humanity. Levi, from the bottom of my heart, I am sorry for everything, and thank you. Thank you for being who you are, for not letting bitterness and resentment harden your heart the way it hardened mine. You are an example to all of us, and I promise I will do everything I can to honor the sacrifice you made today. If you give me the chance, I will spend the rest of my life trying to fix the wrong I have done and become someone worthy of the kindness you showed today. The silence lingered in the hospital hallway after Delilah's emotional speech. Levi, visibly moved, reached out and gently touched Delilah's shoulder. "Please stand up," he said softly. "There's no need for this. I forgive you, Madam Delilah." His eyes shone with a mixture of compassion and hope. "We all make mistakes and everyone deserves a second chance. The important thing is that we are here now and your daughter is safe." Delilah stood up slowly, tears still streaming down her face. "Thank you, Levi. You are truly extraordinary," she whispered. Levi smiled, tired but content. "Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to go. My mother is still waiting for her appointment," he said, maneuvering his wheelchair to leave. Before departing, he turned to Delilah one last time. "I hope your daughter recovers quickly. And remember, Madam Delilah, true elegance comes from within." The next morning, Levi was awakened by the ringing of his phone. Still groggy, he answered. "Hello?" Mariah's excited voice came from the other end. "Levi, I'm so glad I found you. I have a proposal for you." Intrigued, Levi sat up in bed, listening closely as Mariah explained. "I opened my own clothing store. It's a small but cozy space, and I would like you to be my manager." Levi was speechless for a moment. I don't know what to say, Mariah. This is amazing, but..." "Are you sure?" Mariah laughed softly. "Absolutely. Levi, you have a heart of gold and an impressive work ethic. You are exactly what I need to make my store thrive." She paused before continuing. "You know, I had been saving for years for this. While working at Eternal Elegance, I saw so much cruelty and superficiality. I wanted to create a different space, where people are valued for who they are, not for what they wear." With a heart full of hope and gratitude, Levi accepted Mariah's offer. In the months that followed, he dedicated himself fully to his new job. Mariah's store, named Colors of Life, quickly gained a reputation not only for its beautiful and affordable clothing, but also for its warm and inclusive service. Levi implemented several initiatives to make the store more accessible to people with disabilities, turning it into a model of inclusion in the fashion market. With his new salary and Mariah's generous benefits policy, Levi was finally able to afford his mother's full treatment. He watched with joy as she regained her health and vitality day by day. "Son," she said one afternoon, her eyes shining with pride, "you have always been my greatest blessing. Now the world is finally seeing what I've always seen in you." Meanwhile, Delilah kept her promise to change. She implemented a series of reforms at Eternal Elegance, focusing on ethical work practices and a more inclusive approach to fashion. She regularly visited Mariah's store, not as a competitor, but as an ally and friend. On one of those visits, she approached Levi with a genuine smile on her face. "You know," she said, "my daughter asks about you every week. She wants to meet the angel in the wheelchair who saved her life." As the days turned into months, the story of Levi, Mariah, and Delilah became a legend in the local fashion world. They proved that true elegance is not in the clothes we wear, but in the actions we take and the love we share. Colors of Life became more than just a store. It became a symbol of hope and transformation, a reminder that kindness and perseverance can overcome even the deepest-rooted prejudices. And Levi, sitting in his wheelchair behind the counter, greeting each customer with a warm smile, knew he had found more than just a job. He had found his purpose, proving that sometimes the greatest victories come after the hardest battles, and that the truly elegant heart is the one that chooses kindness, no matter the circumstances. If you enjoyed this story, we invite you to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Your support motivates us to keep bringing you heartwarming stories almost every day. Don't miss the next surprising narrative that's about to appear on your screen. We are immensely grateful to have you here with us. Now, you can click on the links that are appearing on your screen right now. We have a special selection just for you, filled with valuable stories and guaranteed entertainment. See you there.
The owner of a bankrupt restaurant allowed a beggar and his daughter to live in the restaurant while it was up for sale. However, when he entered without knocking on the door, he couldn't believe what the beggar was capable of doing. Daniel was sitting on the sidewalk, waiting for his daughter to come out of school. He chose a side street away from the main exit to stay out of sight. Other parents usually gathered, waiting for their children, but Daniel knew if he did that, he would receive dozens of scornful looks. "They don't understand," he thought. "If only they knew how hard I'm trying to bring our life back, they wouldn't look at me this way." Daniel was deep in thought, reflecting on the harsh realities of his life. "Maybe I should try harder, seek more. Maybe there's something I haven't thought of doing," he pondered. "There must be a way. There has to be." Suddenly, a sweet and energetic voice broke his train of thought. "Dad, I'm here. You can't imagine how much I have to tell you." It was Lily running towards him with a huge smile on her face. "I learned so much. The teacher also praised me and said I was very intelligent." She spoke non-stop, each word loaded with enthusiasm. Daniel stood up, his face lighting up with his daughter's happiness. "Tell me everything, my dear. But let's walk and talk, or we'll miss lunch," he said as he took his daughter's backpack. Walking side by side down the street, Daniel listened attentively as Lily narrated her day. The conversation lasted until they approached Michael Oliver's restaurant. Daniel and Lily passed through the alley next to the restaurant, a place they had visited many times over the past weeks. The restaurant was a haven amid the many difficulties the father and daughter faced daily. Michael, a middle-aged man with a serious expression that rarely left his face, had a heart as large as his stature. Despite his stern appearance, his generosity knew no bounds, especially for those in need. As usual, there was a small group of homeless people gathered in the alley, waiting for the day's meal. Daniel and Lily's presence had become a regular sight, and some greeted them as they arrived. As they approached the storage door, where Michael organized large pots full of hot food, the inviting aroma filled the air. "Hello, Daniel, Lily. How are you today? You arrived just in time. I've just filled the pots again," Michael greeted. "Well, thanks to your help, Mr. Michael. You don't know how much this means to us. I think I'd be lost trying to find something for my daughter," Daniel replied, his voice laden with gratitude. "You don't have to thank me every time you show up, Daniel. It should be the duty of every place, but it seems most prefer to waste as if no one was in need. Anyway, I have something special today. I hope you like it. If not, it's my daughter's fault," Michael joked as he filled a food container. Daniel and Lily thanked him, took the filled container and sat down in the alley to share the meal. Lily chattered away as they enjoyed the food and ate quietly. When they were almost finished, Michael appeared and walked towards them, sitting next to Daniel. Michael was a friend of Daniel, and it was common for him to sit and chat casually with them. But this time something was different. He looked rather worn and tired. Daniel, noticing the change in his friend's mood, felt a twinge of concern. "What's happened, Michael? You look worried. Is it something with the restaurant or with your daughter?" Michael hesitated, but finally shared his situation. "Daniel, things aren't going well. I'm facing serious financial problems. The customer base has decreased significantly over the last few months, and debts are piling up. I'm afraid that if the situation doesn't change soon, I'll have to close and sell the restaurant." His voice was a mix of desperation and anguish. Daniel remained silent for a moment, absorbing Michael's words. The restaurant was not just a source of meals for him and Lily, it was a symbol of hope, a reminder that kindness still existed in the world. "Can't there be a solution? Something we can do to help? The restaurant can't just close like this after so many years." Michael shrugged, a gesture of near surrender. "I really don't know, Daniel. I've tried everything. I promoted the restaurant, offered discounts, but nothing seems to attract more customers. And with the economy as it is, people are spending less outside." "Mr. Michael, you help us when we need it most. There must be a way we can give back. Let's think of something to help, I promise. Maybe we can find a way to draw attention to the restaurant, something you haven't tried yet." Although he had no idea what they could do, the determination in his voice was clear. Daniel knew the situation was serious, but he refused to just accept fate. Michael smiled weakly, touched by the offer of help. "Thank you, Daniel. Your willingness to help, even with your own struggles, means a lot to me, though I have no idea how you could help. I sincerely hope you can get through this phase, Michael. I know very well what it's like to lose everything suddenly. It's a terrible feeling, and I wouldn't wish it on anyone." His eyes reflected a deep sadness, but also an intimate understanding of Michael's situation. Moved by Daniel's empathy, the man encouraged him to share more. "You never told me much about how you ended up this way. What exactly happened to you?" "I worked in advertising. It was a career I loved, you know. Creativity, strategy. I was really good at what I did. But the company couldn't keep up. With the market down, clients cutting back, we eventually closed doors. I was one of the last to be laid off, hoping things might change." The memory of his last day at the office was still vivid, the shock and disbelief of colleagues, the sadness in everyone's eyes. The following weeks were the worst imaginable. I looked for a job every day, but nothing came up. Rent started to get behind, savings ran out. Then one day the worst happened. We were evicted, me and Lily. Daniel paused, the pain of that moment still fresh in his mind. Suddenly, without a job, without a home, not knowing how to protect my girl, it was all very desperate. Daniel's gaze drifted into the void for a moment, reliving the anguish of feeling like he was living a nightmare. Michael listened in silence, absorbing every word. Daniel's story was a harsh reminder of how quickly life could change. "Daniel, I'm so sorry for everything you've gone through. Your strength and determination, even in the face of so much adversity, are truly inspiring. I hope things turn around for both of you, just as I hope they do for me. We'll manage to get through all this somehow, but it takes a lot of courage," Michael said sincerely and admiringly. Daniel smiled, grateful. "Thank you, Michael. Your help already makes a big difference for us. Although I can't do much, know that you can count on me for whatever you need." Daniel and Lily, shortly after, said goodbye to Michael and walked towards their makeshift shelter. The path to the corner they called home led to a tent they had set up under the roof of a small, abandoned house, a space that, despite everything, offered at least a roof against the wind and rain. The gate of the house was always open, inviting, but Daniel respected the invisible boundaries set by the possibility of an unknown owner and never dared to enter the house, limiting himself to the use of the small covered backyard. The day passed without them managing another meal. When night arrived, Daniel and Lily settled inside the tent to sleep. The silence was filled only by the sound of their calm breathing and the occasional distant noise of the city. Daniel stared at the tent ceiling, lost in thought. "I need to find a way out for us. Sooner or later a solution will appear, I'm sure of it," he reflected, his mind tirelessly working on solutions. Lily, already asleep, breathed softly beside him. She was the sole reason he continued to fight. "She is all I have, and I am all she has. For her, I cannot give up." With that last determined thought, he too fell asleep. part of the night passed calmly and quietly. However, the stillness of the early morning was abruptly cut by a harsh and authoritative voice, waking father and daughter inside the tent. "You two, get out now. Get out, or I will have to tear down this tent, do you hear?" The voice, laden with authority, made both wake up frightened, their hearts pounding against their chests. Lily, still disoriented from the interrupted sleep, looked at her father with fear and confusion. "Dad, what's happening? Why are they calling us?" she whispered, her voice trembling. Daniel, trying to remain calm in the face of his daughter's evident fear, replied in a low and steady voice, "Stay here, Lily. I'll see what's happening. Don't leave the tent," he instructed, trying to convey a security he himself did not feel. As he stepped out, Daniel encountered the imposing figure of a police officer with the patrol car parked on the street, its red and blue lights flashing in the dark. The officer, with a stern expression, wasted no time. "You are trespassing on this property, and by the state of the gate it looks like you also broke the entrance." The accusation was serious, and Daniel quickly tried to explain the situation. "Sir, we haven't invaded anything. The gate has always been open and the house is completely abandoned. We were just trying to shelter here," said Daniel, his voice laden with desperation. But his words seemed to mean nothing. The officer cut off his explanations. "It doesn't matter. You can't stay here. Abandoned or not, this is private property. If you don't leave now, I will be forced to arrest you and take the girl away." The threat was clear, and Daniel knew he had no choice. The fear of being separated from Lily, of leaving his daughter alone, was unbearable. Resigned and bending down to look inside the tent, Daniel said to Lily, "We have to go now. Grab your backpack. We'll find another place to rest, all right?" he said, trying to hide the tremor in his voice. Together they left the makeshift shelter, passing by the patrol car as they walked away. Daniel felt the weight of the officer's gaze on his back and tried with all his might to ignore the urge to run as fast as he could. As they walked under the cloak of night, Daniel struggled against the tears that threatened to escape. Lily, sensing her father's tension and sadness, held his hand tighter. Daniel looked down at his daughter's face and saw a resilience that always surprised him. "It will be okay, Dad. Those bad men at least didn't hurt you. So it will be okay," she said, with a conviction that tightened Daniel's heart. He wanted to believe her words, wanted to find the same strength he saw in his daughter, but the uncertainty of what came next weighed on him. "I have to be strong for both of us," thought Daniel, as they moved further away, leaving behind the only shelter they had. "I cannot cry in front of her. As much as I want to, I need to stay strong." Walking under the vastness of the night, Daniel and Lily finally came upon a park, a quiet space where they could rest. Lily's exhaustion was visible as she fought against sleep and tiredness with each step. Noticing his daughter's struggle, Daniel chose a secluded bench, a place where they could rest for a moment. Gently, he settled Lily on his lap, offering the little comfort he could in that uncertain situation. Before falling asleep again, Lily murmured in a weak voice, "Dad, I'm hungry. Isn't there anything to eat until morning? I don't really like the school food." These simple, direct words struck Daniel like a dagger. The feeling of being powerless in the face of his daughter's hunger was overwhelming. "How can I protect you from the world if I can't even provide you something to eat?" he thought, the pain of that reality cutting deep. Fighting against the tears that threatened to fall, Daniel stroked Lily's hair, trying to offer some consolation. "I know, my dear, I know. But tomorrow at school you can eat during recess. Just a little more patience, okay? It will be morning soon." With eyes heavy from tiredness and hunger, Lily looked up at her father and smiled. "Okay, Dad. I love you very much, you know. I promised to grab some cookies for you," she said before finally falling asleep. Alone with his thoughts while Lily slept peacefully in his lap, Daniel allowed himself to cry quietly. The tears fell freely, each one carrying the weight of the failure he felt as a father. "God, how long do I have to make her live this way?" he reflected, his heart squeezed by pain and the unconditional love he felt for his daughter. Looking up at the night sky, Daniel searched the stars for some sign of hope, an indication that things might somehow improve. "Please give me the strength to change our luck. I'll accept anything, I'll do anything. I just need an opportunity," he whispered to the universe, a silent prayer from a father desperate for a better future for his daughter. With the dawn of a new day, the routine repeated itself. With Lily by his side, Daniel headed to her school, a ritual that, despite the circumstances, provided him with a sense of normality and purpose. The morning passed slowly, each moment marked by a latent concern about what the future held for them. When it was time to pick up his daughter, Daniel was in his usual spot, waiting for Lily with an anxiety masked by calm. Together, father and daughter walked toward Michael's restaurant. However, as they approached, a new blow awaited them. A "for sale" sign was nailed to the facade of the restaurant. Daniel's heart sank at the sight, the reality of the situation cutting him deeper than expected. "This can't be happening. No, Michael won't give up like this. It's because of him that my daughter eats more than once a day. I won't let this happen," he thought, his shock transforming into a firm decision. In the alley, as they prepared to receive the day's meal, curiosity and concern drove Daniel to question Michael about the sign. "Michael, what about that sign? I can't believe you're giving up the restaurant. I know you too well to see you give up like this." Michael's look was a mix of resignation and sadness, a mirror of the internal struggle he was facing. "Daniel, I had no choice. The financial situation of the restaurant became unsustainable. Selling was the only option left. I'm sorry for you two and everyone else, but there is nothing more I can do. But for this week, I guarantee you will still have something to eat. I need to travel for a week, and my daughter will take care of things here in the meantime. She will take care of you too." Amid the whirlwind of emotions and concerns that beset Daniel, his mind worked frantically. The fear of no longer being able to feed Lily, the concern for Michael's future and his restaurant, everything seemed to be heading towards a state of almost paralyzing despair. What if we no longer have a place to get food? What if things get even worse? The thoughts overlapped, each bringing its own load of anxiety and fear. Then, in the midst of this storm of worries, a spark of inspiration illuminated the darkness of Daniel's despair. His experience and skills in advertising, which for so long seemed to belong to a past life, suddenly appeared as the key to a solution. "I can use what I know. I already know how I can help," he realized, a wave of determination replacing fear. Looking at Michael with renewed intensity, Daniel made his proposal. "Michael, I have a solution. Give me this week. Let me use my advertising skills to attract more customers to the restaurant. In exchange, my daughter and I will sleep in the storage room, just a safe place to spend the night." His voice was full of hope, but also urgency that left no doubt about the seriousness of his offer. Michael, initially surprised by the proposal, pondered Daniel's words. The restaurant was on the brink, and the idea of selling seemed the only way out. However, Daniel's proposal was something completely unexpected, a ray of hope. After a few moments of reflection, Michael nodded. "All right, Daniel, it's a deal. You have 1 week. If you can bring in more customers and show that there's hope for this place, I'll reconsider the sale." His decision, though cautious, was a vote of confidence that risked in Daniel. Daniel felt a mix of relief and dread when he heard Michael's answer. The responsibility to save the restaurant, along with the chance to provide a safe haven for Lily, was immense. "Thank you, Michael. I promise I will do everything to make this work. You won't be disappointed, I promise." Daniel had a more peaceful day, finally having a place for them to rest. They returned to the restaurant just before dusk and found the storage room door open. Carefully, they peered inside and saw a young woman arranging a mattress among the boxes, a simple yet meaningful gesture in that makeshift space. "Good evening," Daniel said, his voice echoing slightly. "Sorry to disturb you. You must be Michael's daughter, aren't you?" The woman looked up, surprised, but her face quickly lit up with a welcoming smile. "You must be Daniel," she said, approaching with a friendly expression. "I'm Emma, Michael's daughter, and this must be Lily, right? What a beautiful girl." Her voice was warm, and she bent down to greet Lily, who watched the scene curiously. Emma invited them inside. "Please come in. Sit down and make yourselves comfortable. Feel at home. I made some hot soup to welcome you. I figured you might be hungry. Just wait here, I'll go get it." In the blink of an eye, she left, and soon after, the three found themselves sitting on boxes in the storage room, each enjoying a beautiful bowl of soup. Daniel and Lily accepted the meal with gratitude, the enticing aroma of the soup filling the air. As they ate, Daniel asked about Michael. "And your father? He said he was going to travel. Did he leave today? I thought he would still be here when I returned." Emma confirmed that he had already left for his trip. "He had to leave today, but he left me well instructed. I know he trusts me to handle things around here. and that already makes me more confident that I can manage. You seem to have the same intelligence and kindness as your father. You will surely succeed." Daniel smiled and received a shy smile in return. "By the way, this soup is really wonderful. You must have inherited your father's cooking skills. Do you like to cook?" She responded with a nod, her eyes glowing with evident passion. "Yes, I really enjoy cooking. It's a form of expression for me, but it's not what I want to do with my life. I've always dreamed of making a living from music. Cooking speaks to the soul, but music speaks to the heart." Daniel listened attentively, impressed by Emma's passion. Music has that power, doesn't it? It makes us feel connected to something bigger, something that transcends words. I've always liked it too. I've played instruments, did you know? I know piano, guitar, and a bit of violin. Lily, though quiet, listened to the conversation, her eyes moving between Daniel and Emma with innocent curiosity. She observed the exchange of smiles between her father and Emma. It was a rare scene for her, to see her father so engaged in a conversation, a sincere smile lighting up his face in a way she almost didn't recognize. The happiness emanating from him was quite different, a welcome change from the constant worry that seemed to weigh on his shoulders lately. As the conversation flowed naturally between Daniel and Emma, Lily patiently waited for a chance to share her thoughts. Finally, finding a moment of silence, Lily spoke with the sweetness and sincerity only a child possesses. "Daddy, Emma would make a great mommy, don't you think?" Daniel, caught off guard by Lily's remark, felt his face heat up in a deep shade of red. Embarrassment and awkwardness instantly flooded him as he searched for the right words to apologize while laughing nervously. "Lily, for goodness sake! Emma, I'm so sorry, she's just a child, you know how children are, right?" he stuttered, not quite knowing what to say. Emma, in turn, blushed at the comment, but her reaction was met with genuine laughter and a warm smile. "Don't worry, Daniel. She is absolutely adorable. I understand. With all this difficult situation for you two, she really must be missing a mother," said Emma, her voice full of affection and amusement. That brief interlude of discomfort did not diminish the spirit of the evening. On the contrary, it added a layer of intimacy and humanity to the meeting. The conversation stretched on for some time until Emma decided to leave. She said her goodbyes, leaving only father and daughter in the darkness and silence of the storage room. After Emma's departure, Daniel and Lily settled on the mattress that now served as their bed in the confined space of the storage. The environment was calm, a comfortable silence filling the space after the energy and warmth of Emma's presence. As they lay down, trying to find comfort on the makeshift mattress, Daniel's mind still echoed with the laughter and conversations of that evening. However, before falling asleep, Lily broke the silence. "Dad, I saw how you were looking at Emma. You like her, don't you? No use lying to me, you looked all silly." The question, asked with disarming simplicity, made Daniel laugh in surprise. "Time to sleep, little one. No more talk for today. I'm tired," he said, though his heart was warmed by her observation. Lily added with a giggle, "She liked you too, I can tell. She was all silly with you too." Her words, spoken with the confident innocence of youth, left Daniel surprised. He watched Lily close her eyes, a content smile on her lips as she settled down to sleep, leaving Daniel alone with his thoughts. Daniel's mind revolved around the possibility of that assertion. Could it be true? Could Emma really have felt something for me? Or is it just Lily's imagination? She's just a child. It could just be fertile imagination. The idea seemed somewhat unlikely to be real. He definitely felt something for Emma, but the reality of their circumstances made mutual feeling seem impossible. As these thoughts enveloped him, Daniel gave in to fatigue and fell asleep. The next morning, Emma, with her usual energy, served breakfast for Daniel and Lily, a kindness that went beyond what was expected. As they enjoyed the simple, yet lovingly prepared meal, Emma asked Daniel about his plans for the restaurant. "Do you have any idea what you're going to do to help the restaurant? My father said you were good at advertising and might have some ideas about what to do." Her curiosity was genuine, mixed with a hint of hope. Daniel, chewing his bread, responded, "I'm still thinking, but I'd like to take a look around the place. Maybe then I'll get some ideas. Knowing well what you're advertising is really important to create something truly eye-catching." Emma, recognizing Daniel's need for space and time to work, offered to take Lily to school. "I can take Lily with me so you can focus better and have more time to think about your plans." The offer was more than just a gesture of help. It was a sign of trust and support for Daniel's efforts. Grateful, Daniel accepted, thanking Emma for her generosity. "That would be great, thank you, Emma. I assure you that all your support and care for the two of us will not be in vain, just as your father's trust in me won't be either." His gratitude was deep, relieved to know that Lily would be in good hands. After the girls left, Daniel walked through the door from the storage into the kitchen. From there he moved to the main part of the restaurant, where empty tables awaited customers who did not come. The silence of the closed space was profound, but to Daniel it was a vast field of potential. As he inspected the place, his eyes landed on an easel with a chalkboard near the entrance, the welcome sign inviting customers inside. It was then that an idea began to take shape in his mind. When Emma returned, Daniel was waiting for her seated on the boxes in the storage, the energy of his new idea overflowing with anticipation. He shared with her the vision he had. What if we use this entrance sign to announce something different? Something that makes people want to come in and see what's happening. The excitement in his voice was contagious. Daniel continued, "We could advertise special dishes, promotions, or even themed events. Something that changes regularly and creates a sense of novelty and expectation." He spoke with confidence, his experience in advertising shining through the plan. Emma listened attentively, her face lit up by the prospect of positive change, but she still showed some uncertainty. "The idea is really good, Daniel, but we need to keep in mind the current conditions of the restaurant. We can't afford to incur many extra expenses," she explained, her voice carrying a mix of optimism and caution. "We need something simple, yet effective." Daniel nodded, fully understanding Emma's reservations. He closed his eyes for a moment, letting his mind work through the tangle of possibilities, searching for a creative solution that would fit the situation. Then, as if a light bulb went off in his head, an idea emerged. What if we had games? For instance, a customer could order a random dish. Any dish from the menu would be served, but before eating, they would have to guess the name of the dish. If they get it right, they get the meal and a drink for free. Emma's hesitation quickly gave way to growing enthusiasm. The simplicity and ingenuity of the idea captivated her. "That's brilliant, Daniel. It's a fun and engaging way to draw people into the restaurant without requiring a big investment. Plus, it creates an incredible experience for the customers," she exclaimed, her admiration for Daniel's creativity only growing. Emma's enthusiasm was so great that, in a burst of joy, she stepped forward and hugged Daniel. The spontaneous gesture left him momentarily surprised, his face flushing with the sudden proximity. The embarrassment, mixed with a touch of joy, tinged his cheeks red as he gently returned the hug. As they stepped back, both with shy smiles on their lips, the energy between them had subtly changed. However, Daniel cleared his throat, trying to bring the focus back to the conversation. "Let's start planning then. We need to spread the word and maybe even think of other games or events we can hold. We should do something different each day so customers always have a reason to come back." Emma agreed, inspired by Daniel's determination. "Yes, let's do that, and I have some other ideas that might work well considering the limited budget." The conversation continued, both exchanging thoughts and suggestions, a feeling of renewed hope filling the space. At that moment, the future of Michael's restaurant seemed on the verge of being saved. With the plan carefully outlined and the excitement mounting, Emma took the initiative to execute the idea. She took the chalkboard and, with clear and inviting handwriting, wrote the phrase that hoped to attract the curious: "Order a random dish and guess the name. If you get it right, your meal is free." Placing the sign out on the street was filled with a mix of nervousness and hope, a gamble on human creativity and curiosity to rejuvenate the restaurant. As the restaurant opened, Emma busied herself in the kitchen trying to distract herself with daily tasks. She washed the few dishes there were, cleaning and drying as she went. Will anyone be interested? What if no one wants to take the risk? Just because the idea is good doesn't mean it will work. Anxiety grew, but she tried to maintain faith in the plan. Then a sound cut through the silence and tension of the setting, the bell at the door announcing the arrival of a customer. Emma's heart raced and she quickly wiped her hands on her apron before going to greet them. There stood a man with an expression of evident curiosity as he asked about the sign. "I saw the promotion at the entrance. How does it exactly work? Do you really eat for free?" His voice carried a mix of interest and challenge. Emma explained the dynamics with an enthusiasm she could hardly contain. You order a random dish from our menu and I prepare it for you. Before you taste it, you try to guess the name of the dish. If you get it right, the meal and drink are on the house. The sparkle in her eyes was undeniable, the hope that this simple interaction could be the beginning of something bigger. The customer seemed amused by the offer. Quite interesting. I accept the challenge. Let's see how it goes, he said, sitting down at one of the tables. I would like a random dish, please. Emma, almost in disbelief at her own luck, nodded and hurried to the kitchen to prepare the first dish of the day. As she chose the ingredients, a renewed energy filled her. This could really work, she thought, allowing herself an optimistic smile. Meanwhile, in the storage room, Daniel spent the day immersed in a mix of anxiety and anticipation, alternating between reviewing his ideas and peeking through the kitchen door, waiting for any sign of Emma. The absence of news fueled his worry, making him question whether the plan had really worked. What if no one was interested? What if it was a complete failure? No, I can't think like that. I need to stay positive. It will work out. It's just a matter of time. He tried to ward off the bad thoughts, focusing on the hope that Emma was simply too busy to come to the storage room. He waited for Emma all morning, but given the time, Daniel had to leave to pick up his daughter from school. However, upon returning, his worry turned into curiosity when he saw Emma involved in her daily routine of feeding the homeless in the alley. As soon as she saw them arrive, with an enthusiasm she couldn't contain, she hurried to bring them inside. You won't believe what happened. The idea is working. We had more customers today than usual. You're doing it, Daniel. You are truly brilliant. Her joy was contagious, her eyes shining with success. Daniel, hearing the news, couldn't contain a laugh of pure happiness. Really, that's incredible. My God, you have no idea the relief I feel right now. The news that only 4 customers had guessed the names of the dishes was the icing on the cake. It meant that not only had the idea attracted more people, but also that the restaurant was generating some profit. But still, we can't get comfortable. We need to keep up with the novelties and bring new things. While I was in the storage room, I was thinking about the next step. What if we tried something similar with juices? Customers could try to guess the juice flavor by taste. If they get it right, they can order as many glasses as they want. Emma, still influenced by the excitement of the day, received this suggestion with enthusiasm. Great, I love it. I noticed that people are drawn to challenges, especially the younger ones. The next day, a new sign strategically placed on the street announced the novelty, order a random juice and guess the flavor. If you get it right, drink as much as you want. The expectations were high, and although the idea did attract a certain number of people, Emma noticed that the increase in customers wasn't as significant as they had hoped, compared to the increase the previous day. The afternoon unfolded at the same pace. Each customer who entered brought with them a certain curiosity, but the number of people dwindled as the day progressed without major changes in the overall movement of the restaurant. At the end of the day, Emma found Daniel in the storage room, his expression laden with concern. Daniel, the juice idea was good, but it didn't bring exactly the number we needed. I think we need something more eye-catching, something that sets us apart from other restaurants, something that really catches the eye, she confessed, her words tinged with despondency. The sincerity and urgency in her voice reflected the pressure they both felt to revive the restaurant. Daniel, noticing Emma's concern, delved into thought, searching for a solution. Then he remembered something Emma had mentioned before, her passion for music. Emma, you said you like music, right? Do you play any instruments or have you ever performed for an audience before? Emma, surprised by the sudden shift in the conversation, hesitated for a moment. Yes, I like music and I play a bit of guitar. But I've never performed before. I only sing to myself and my dad. What exactly are you thinking? There was a hint of suspicion in her voice, a certain fear making her question where this conversation might lead. Daniel, with a smile on his lips, let his silence speak for itself, prompting an immediate understanding in Emma, who quickly recoiled. You're not suggesting that I perform, are you? Daniel, I don't know if I can. I won't deny it's a good idea, but what if I get too nervous and can't sing? As the conversation took an unexpected turn, Daniel noticed the hesitation and fear in Emma's eyes. The idea of performing publicly seemed to terrify her. However, Daniel was willing to try to work around the problem. How about this? Start by singing just for me and Lily. Consider it a rehearsal. If you manage to sing for us, you can perform fearlessly for the restaurant's audience, suggested Daniel, trying to keep his tone gentle and reassuring. Initially, Emma still seemed uncertain. The idea of singing, even to a small and friendly audience, was a challenge that touched her deepest insecurities. But what if I sing off key? I'm not all that, Daniel. I'm an amateur singer. I have no technique. I never studied properly to be able to sing like this. Emma's voice was a mix of fear and a desire to share her passion. Daniel, however, did not give up. Emma, we trust you, and no matter what happens, we'll be here supporting you. It's a chance to show your talent, even if it's just to the two of us. Lily, always the biggest supporter, joined her father. I really want to hear you sing, Emma. Please, I'm sure you must sing like a princess, like in the movies. Lily's request, made with eyes bright with expectation, was the final push Emma needed. After a moment of reflection, Emma conceded, All right, I'll try, but I can't promise anything, okay? I can sing for you, but it doesn't mean I'll sing for the entire restaurant. That night, the storage room transformed into an impromptu stage with the three of them seated on boxes, Daniel playing the guitar and Emma unleashing her voice. As she began to sing, her sweet and melodious voice filled the space, revealing a hidden talent that not even Daniel could have predicted. As he watched her sing, the man discovered a new passion, watching Emma sing. It was an experience that warmed his heart, a new and profound feeling that completely enveloped him, leaving him enchanted in a way he had never experienced before. For her part, Emma, immersed in the music and in Daniel's presence, discovered something about herself she had not known before. The sensation of watching Daniel play, the way his skilled hands drew melodies from the guitar, was like witnessing a kind of magic. At that moment, she realized that her admiration for music and the act of singing was only part of the reason for her emotions. What truly enchanted her was Daniel himself. The recognition of this truth brought a whirlwind of emotions, a mix of happiness from the discovery and anxiety about what it meant. After the last note was played and the last verse sung, Emma was radiant. The experience of performing, initially terrifying, had turned into a reason for excitement. Thank you so much for this, truly. Now I know I can do it, and I will give it my all. Let's bring music to the restaurant, she said, her voice filled with newfound confidence. When the restaurant reopened the next day, a new energy vibrated in the air, announced by the updated sign promising live music and a musical challenge for customers. Live music, guess the song name and win a dessert. This unusual promise for a neighborhood restaurant sparked the curiosity of many, attracting a crowd that sought not just a meal but an experience. Daniel had dedicated himself to setting up a makeshift stage with fruit crates, creating a cozy space for Emma to perform. Despite the simplicity of the stage, it was a beautiful setting due to the colorful fruits. Daniel, dressed in the work clothes that Emma had provided, took on the roles of server and cook with surprising skill, proving himself a first-rate chef. Little Lily was not to be outdone. She helped her father with a seriousness and dedication that enchanted. She passed ingredients, picked up plates and glasses, and moved around the kitchen with a grace that only children possess. As the afternoon progressed, the restaurant filled up more and more, the customers drawn by the novelty of live music and the proposed challenge. Emma, with her sweet and captivating voice, enchanted everyone, transforming the space with her melodies. Each song was met with enthusiastic applause, and customers eagerly participated in the game, each trying to guess the names of the songs to win their promised dessert. Meanwhile, Daniel, although busy with the demands of the crowded restaurant, never missed an opportunity to admire Emma whenever he could. Each time he passed by the stage, he allowed himself a moment to watch her sing, a smile always blooming on his lips. These brief moments, when their gazes met and smiles were exchanged, were interrupted only by the need to attend to customers' calls. Yet Daniel's smile remained, a reflection of the enchantment and deep admiration he felt for Emma. When Daniel returned to the kitchen after one of these moments, Lily, with her keen observation, commented, "Daddy, you have that silly smile again. I haven't given up on having a mommy," she said, a hint of mischief in her voice. Daniel, caught off guard by Lily's comment, quickly turned back to work. "Let's focus on the dishes now, okay? We have a lot to do to keep chatting. And be careful with the glasses, use the chair to reach them." He tried to keep his voice neutral, but his heart was light and he felt almost buoyant. It was evident that for Daniel, that day was not only about securing the survival of the restaurant. In the days that followed, Michael's restaurant only grew in popularity. With each passing day, the number of customers increased, drawn not only by the promise of a good meal, but by the unique experience the restaurant now offered. It was against this backdrop of success and infectious joy that Michael returned from his trip. Approaching the restaurant, Michael could hardly believe what he was seeing. The entrance was crowded with people, a scene he hadn't witnessed in a long time. The sound of his daughter Emma's voice, singing to an enchanted audience, reached his ears, blending with the cheerful murmur of the customers. The for sale sign that had once marked the facade of the restaurant had disappeared. Entering the restaurant, Michael was even more surprised to see Daniel, who had taken on the role of server with the naturalness and elegance of a true waiter. Dressed impeccably and with a smile that radiated happiness, Daniel greeted Michael with genuine joy. "Welcome back, Michael. How was your trip? I hope it wasn't too tiring," he said, with a simplicity that hid the effort and dedication behind the transformation of the restaurant. Michael, still trying to grasp the situation, laughed with emotion, allowing himself for the first time in a long time to cry with happiness. The success he saw before his eyes was something that, in his darkest moments, he had never imagined possible. "You've done an incredible job. It's a real miracle. I owe my life to you, Daniel." Despite the emotion, without wasting time, Michael returned to his seriousness. "But it seems we don't have much time for talking and crying. We have a lot of work to do. Come on, back to action," he declared, taking his place in the restaurant with a new energy. The collaboration between him and Daniel flowed naturally, as if they had been a well-tuned team for years. This moment marked not only the recovery of the restaurant but the birth of a new family, united not by blood ties but by shared dreams, efforts, and above all, music. The transformation of Michael's restaurant into a lively and joyful meeting place was living proof that even in the darkest moments, hope and creativity can open unexpected paths, bringing light and color to the darkest days. At the end of a busy day, the restaurant finally found its deserved rest. It was in this moment of calm that Michael called Daniel for a private conversation in the storage room, while Emma and Lily enjoyed a moment of tranquility in the kitchen, enjoying the leftovers of a dessert. Michael, with a feeling of pure gratitude, wasted no time in expressing his thanks to Daniel. "I don't know how to thank you for everything you've done. You don't know how much this all means to me and my daughter. It wasn't just her who put on a show, but you as well, my friend." Daniel, humble as always, thanked him for the compliment. With a bit of creativity and the help of everyone, especially Emma, we managed to overcome the challenges. "I didn't do this alone, Mr. Michael. I couldn't have done it without her." Michael smiled upon hearing Daniel's acknowledgement of Emma's role in this achievement. "Say what you will, but you can't deny how skilled you were tonight. You served the customers as if you'd been doing it for years, and they seemed very satisfied with the food. You've proven yourself to be an excellent waiter and cook." Then the conversation took an unexpected turn. Michael's expression suddenly became serious and direct. "But I truly hope you'll be as good a son-in-law as you are a worker. Or did you think I didn't notice the smiles exchanged between you two?" he declared, an observation that completely took Daniel by surprise. The mention of the possibility of a deeper relationship between Daniel and Emma coming from Michael made Daniel's face turn a deep red. The idea that his feelings for Emma could be so evident as to be noticed by Michael left him speechless, a mix of happiness and embarrassment flooding his being. I don't know what to say," Daniel stuttered and laughed nervously. After that day, the course of everyone's lives took an unexpected path. Michael's perceptive observations about the connection between Daniel and Emma proved true. Daniel proposed to Emma shortly after Michael's return. Emma's positive response was not a surprise to either Lily or Michael. The wedding was celebrated 2 months later. In the meantime, Daniel became part of the restaurant team, joining forces with Emma to not only keep the establishment thriving but also to pursue bigger dreams together. Their collaboration, based on mutual respect and shared passion, helped accumulate enough resources for the purchase of a house. Lily, who had become a constant and joyful presence both in the restaurant and in the lives of Daniel and Emma, received the news that she would have a new sibling with indescribable happiness. This announcement brought new meaning to what was already a story of overcoming and unity, symbolizing the beginning of a promising and loving lineage. Over the years, the restaurant not only remained a beloved meeting spot in the community, but also expanded, becoming a successful franchise in the city. Daniel's innovative vision, combined with Michael's tireless dedication and Emma's unwavering support, turned the restaurant into a symbol of resilience, creativity, and success. The stability achieved by the family was a testament to the power of collaboration, love, and faith in dreams. The days of struggle and uncertainty gave way to a future of prosperity and joy, where each new challenge was seen not as an obstacle, but as an opportunity to grow and strengthen together. Their legacy, marked by music, the unforgettable flavor of the dishes, and the love for each other, became a source of inspiration for all who crossed their path. A reminder that, with unity and love, it is possible to turn dreams into reality. If you've loved this story, I invite you to show your appreciation with a like and join our community by subscribing to the channel. Your support motivates us to keep delivering compelling stories nearly every day. Don't miss out on the next extraordinary tale that we're about to showcase on your screen. We greatly value your support. See you soon.
Come on, have some more wine, my husband urged. We had come to a secluded rental villa for our honeymoon. We were alone, taking our time and celebrating with some nice wine. However, after only 2 glasses, I felt strangely tipsy, and the room started to spin. Already drunk? You're hopeless, he teased. After drinking the water my husband handed me, I was suddenly overcome with sleepiness. Maybe I've been busy and tired lately, but when I glanced at my husband, instead of looking worried, he seemed to be smiling for some reason. Then I remembered a note from a stranger that had been handed to me. It said, "Run away now. My name is Mary, and I'm 27. We had our wedding 6 months ago and finally went on a slightly delayed honeymoon. I met my husband William 3 years ago in a cooking class. He's 12 years older, but we get along great and share the same taste in food. We also both lost our parents at an early age, so it was natural for our relationship to deepen and lead to marriage. Though we had our wedding, our work was so busy that we could only take a 1-week break. So we looked for a place where we could relax and chose a natural, serene location for our honeymoon. The rental villa where we were staying was just over 3 hours by car from home. On the way, we stopped at a restaurant for food as I was getting hungry. From there, the villa was about 2 more hours away. I had felt like someone was watching me since we entered the restaurant. After finishing our meal, a waitress handed me a small note as I stood to go to the restroom. The paper read, "Escape now without being noticed." I tried to ask what it meant, but the waitress had already disappeared into the back of the restaurant. I didn't see her face, so I didn't know who handed it to me. I thought it might be a cruel prank, but when I entered the stall and looked at the note again, there were digits that seemed to be a phone number. What on earth is going on? The excitement of our honeymoon suddenly gave way to an uneasy feeling. Who was that woman earlier? Driven by a desire to find the woman and inquire about this note, I heard voices from outside the restroom. "Hey Mary, are you okay? Feeling sick?" My husband called out. "No, nothing's wrong. I'll be out soon. Just wait at the table," I replied, lying on the spot. Unsure of whether or not to show my husband the note, I stuffed it deep into my pocket. Our long-awaited honeymoon, which had been filled with joy and excitement, suddenly became clouded with uncertainty. I felt I mustn't let my husband sense my inner turmoil, so I acted more cheerful and lively than usual as we left the restaurant. Next, we stopped at a supermarket to buy food and drinks and arrived at the remote rental villa 2 hours later. As we relaxed, walking together and enjoying our leisure time, I began to forget about the note. By evening, we decided to make our favorite dishes. I made his favorite hamburger steak, and he made mashed potatoes. We savored our meal across the table, toasting with wine and enjoying lively conversation, feeling so happy. And yet, after 2 glasses of wine, my head started to feel foggy. "I bought your favorite premium wine, Mary. Drink up," William encouraged. I might be getting a little tipsy," I admitted. "What are you talking about? You've hardly drunk anything." My husband offered me more wine. I thought about stopping, but looking at my cheerful husband, I didn't want to ruin the pleasant atmosphere, so I sipped the wine little by little. However, after a while, I started to feel even dizzier and as though I was becoming quite drunk. Feeling that any more would make me sick, I pulled my hand away from the wine glass. My husband stared intently at my face, checking my complexion. "You usually handle a whole bottle of wine fine. Is your daily fatigue catching up with you?" "Maybe it is," I replied. "You're such a helpless one. If so, drink this. It'll sober you up. Here, he said, handing me the hangover supplement he usually takes along with some water. Yet even after drinking it, my drunkenness didn't subside, and I was strangely overcome with intense drowsiness. Finally, I was in such a state that I could barely sit in my chair, leaning on the table. It's surprisingly easy, he muttered. Opening my eyes slightly at those words, I saw my husband, instead of looking concerned, had an eerie smile on his face. You might just slip into an eternal sleep. Thanks for getting life insurance. Without caring for me as I lay limp and unable to get up, my husband poured all the wine down the sink, tidied up his dishes and glasses, and left the rental villa. Unable to move at all, I heard the sound of a car engine gradually fading away. What on earth is happening? The note that the waitress gave me flashed through my mind. Run away now might have been anticipating this situation. The last words my husband said echoed in my mind. Thanks for getting life insurance. Just thinking about the meaning of these words sent a chill down my spine with terrifying thoughts popping up one after the other. By the way, it was him who first brought up getting insurance. Within a week of our marriage, my husband strongly urged us to take out life insurance together. When I hesitated, feeling something was off, he said, looking sad, life insurance is like a charm for us. In case something happens, since both of us have lost our parents, I thought it'd save us from hardship if something went wrong. I was convinced at the time, but now, could it be that he's been targeting this all along? With great effort, I crawled to the kitchen and chugged down an unopened bottle of water. My mind started to clear a bit, and I took out the note I had received and pressed the call button on my mobile phone. After a few rings, a woman answered. When I told her I had received the note and was incoherent from the wine, she responded with urgency. That's why I gave you the note saying run away now. You might be in danger. What? What do you mean? Please tell me what you know, I pleaded. According to what she hesitantly told me, she was my husband's ex-girlfriend. Apparently, they were dating about 5 years ago when his parents died from an illness. His behavior was so suspicious that she became frightened and decided to break up. However, she couldn't get rid of him, so she vanished. I was stunned to hear her story. I had heard that his parents died more than 10 years ago in a traffic accident. What's going on here? So when we entered the restaurant, she was incredibly surprised. She hid in the back of the shop so we wouldn't see her. I wasn't imagining the feeling that someone was watching me during dinner. The waitress must have sensed that my husband was up to something and handed me a note when I went to the restroom, wanting to help with all her heart. Thank you for giving me the note. I can't thank you enough. It must have taken courage, I said. I heard her sobbing on the phone at my words. I can't believe this. I can never forgive this. Contrary to my gratitude to her, I was terribly shocked to find that my trusting husband had betrayed me. Gradually, I became consumed with anger. I have to punish that man, no matter what, I said, without thinking. She replied, of course. But I had a plan. Carrying it out might put me in even more danger, but I couldn't just let things go on like this. I was determined to make him realize his wrongs. About 2 hours later, I heard the sound of my husband's car engine returning. After the phone call, I had fallen ill again and was lying on the floor. I could see my husband, still wearing his shoes, entering through the door. He slowly approached me, crouched down in front of me, and gently put his ear to my lips to check my breathing. Damn, she's still alive? She's stubborn. I should have made her drink more, he muttered. What does that mean? I faintly whispered, and he began to speak with a defiant smile. I'll tell you as a gift to the dead. You know I hate working, so I made my parents drink plenty of alcohol to quickly get my hands on some money. Then, I made them drink the supplement I made and gave to you. Ha! I married you because you had no one else, and now the life insurance money will be all mine. Since the premium is $500 a month, I might get around $500,000. I'm thrilled. I felt a chill as my husband's cruel words sank in. You won't have your way, I croaked. Don't act tough. You can't even move. I'll take all your savings too. Now, I'll send you to the afterlife right away with this, he sneered. My husband then took out several of the supplements from earlier. It sounded like he was dissolving them in water with the noise of a glass and stirring. He grabbed my hair, lifted my face, and poured the mixture into my mouth. Stop it. Come on. Gulp it down. I won't hold back this time. You'll be in the afterlife in no time. I resisted desperately, coughing and somehow spitting out the liquid that had been forcibly poured into my mouth. That's enough. Let go of Mary. Standing there was the store clerk, his former lover, who had handed me the note. What? Why is Emma here? I had arranged for her to come here after giving her the location of the villa on the phone earlier, I said, standing up smoothly from the floor. My husband looked completely baffled. It's true the wine affected me quickly, but I had felt something was off when he gave me the supplements while I was drunk and made sure not to swallow them. You must have thought I'd come back here to check what had happened to me. Damn you, you tricked me. I'll never forgive you. I'll wipe both of you off the face of this earth, he roared. Recklessly, he grabbed the poker next to the wood-burning stove and approached us. Stop it. Screaming won't help you here in this deserted place. Now, which one of you should I finish off first? He said, swinging the stick in his hand, shattering mirrors and vases in the room. Just as I couldn't escape any longer, my husband stood in front of me, raising his arm to strike. At that moment, the door banged open with a loud noise, and the police burst in. His former lover had been watching the situation from the next room and had called the police. It was a close call. Indeed, that was a close one, I muttered. With a shocked look on his face, my husband's arm remained raised, frozen in place. I took the opportunity to turn off the recording button on the mobile phone I had propped on the shelf and handed it to the police. I've recorded everything in here. This should be enough evidence, right? Oh, and the supplement I pretended to drink. I'll give that as evidence too. What? What's going on? My husband stammered. Actually, I had called the police after my husband abandoned me, but they didn't take me seriously because I was slurring my words, thinking it was a drunk's joke. That's why, with the cooperation of his former lover, I staged a convincing act to elicit a confession from my husband. Honestly, I was terrified of my husband and thought about running away right then and there. But I knew that if I ran, my husband would target me, and I believed that the police would surely come if they had evidence of a crime in progress. This is just a little marital spat, not something to bother the busy police with, he said, tossing the stick he was holding onto the floor and scratching his head. I was fed up with him, thinking he could still deceive us with all this evidence stacked against him. You might as well give up. We have your own confession and the video evidence of you trying to take our lives. Mary, you're exaggerating. Calling the police is going too far. I'll apologize, so don't be mad. I wouldn't really harm you, would I? There's no way I can believe you now. Besides, I will have everything investigated thoroughly, not only about this incident but also the death of your parents. That's such an old story, and there's no evidence. He seemed to think that he wouldn't be charged with a serious crime if he was caught just for this incident. Then the ex-lover, who had been silently observing, spoke up. I'm not sure if this will be helpful, but I have stored everything he said at that time and anything that seems to be evidence. Really? No way. I don't want to waste my life over something like this, my husband stammered. My husband tried to escape, but he was quickly caught by the police, handcuffed, and taken away in a patrol car. He shouldn't be able to get out of detention for a while. Watching the patrol car get smaller, I felt a release from anxiety. Emma, are you hurt? I asked. I'm fine, but I was scared. We don't know what would have happened to us if the police had arrived a few minutes later. I knew my life was in danger, but it was all to expose this man's deeds. Thank you for courageously giving me the note. If it weren't for you, I don't know what would have happened to me. I owe you my life. No, I think it was resolved because you believed in me and Mary acted without considering her own danger. I'm just glad you're safe. This should ease the pain of losing my in-laws. But it was indeed a terrifying experience. Afterward, we couldn't stop trembling for a while. Soon, my husband's attempts on my life and his taking of his parents' lives would be exposed. Of course, I'm divorcing him and canceling my expensive life insurance policy. Now all I have to do is wait for him to be judged. I'm scared but truly relieved that such a terrible person was not left at large. I'm hoping to find someone I can be with for life, and I'm learning from this. Please be careful with men who try to sell you life insurance.